Hello class, my name is Isaiah Vasquez and today I'll be presenting my presentation, The Westminster 3. The Westminster 3 was a case made in 1994. It involved the gruesome murder of three young boys. On May 5th, 1993, three 8-year-old boys were reported missing to the Westminster police in Arkansas. The police started searching for the missing boys right away in the Robin Hood Hills area, as that was the last place anyone had seen them. Rescue personnel were able to find them that same afternoon. Sadly, when search team found them, they were naked, hog-tied with their own shoelaces. They were not raped, but they were mutilated and then thrown into a muddy ditch. The only suspects to have ever been caught for this horrific crime were three outcast teenagers: Jesse Kelly Jr., age 17, Jason Baldwin, age 16, and Damian Eccles, 18. These three teenagers were not given a fair trial. They faced testimonies that were forged and spotty expert testimonies. Evidence was lost, the crime was poorly investigated, and leads were put on hold and later forgotten. But sadly enough, once the people of Westminster had decided that they had their guys, they no longer looked for other suspects. Once convicted, Jesse Kelly was given a life sentence plus two 20-year sentences on top of that. Jason Baldwin was given a life sentence, and Damian Eccles, the only one who was treated as an adult, was given a death sentence. After the trial became well known to the public, people all around the USA became outraged. Celebrities gathered donations to free the three, as they were called. Documentaries were made, and different organizations tested and reanalyzed evidence in order to help them be set free, all to no avail. But in the end, they took an alpha plea out of fear that if they fought the conviction, they may not be able to win as fast enough to save Damian Eccles, who was still facing his death sentence. After the plea, they were given 10-year sentence and were later released for having served over 18 years. To clarify, the alpha plea is when a defendant claims they are innocent, but also admits that the prosecution has submitted enough evidence to the judge or a jury that could lead them to be found guilty. So let me talk out of script here. The Westminster 3 is a horrifying case for both the victims and the three teenagers. Damian Eccles was practicing Wicca, religion of Wicca, where they don't believe in gods or the devil. They believe in Mother Nature, where the earth has all the powers and heals everyone else. They were dressing all in black, and they weren't given a fair trial at all. One of their witness testimonies that the prosecutor brought in was another teenager. He was about 15 years of age, but what set him apart was that he was mentally delayed. The police interrogated him for hours, breaking him. And when he finally gave him his testimony, everything he said was spoon-fed to him. Everything here looks to be as fault of the police. They did a sloppy job. They weren't good at their jobs. A lot of evidence was lost from the crime scene to a lab. One of the police officers that was sent out to investigate another lead, it was a bloody man who walked into a restaurant in that same area around the same time. He was all covered in blood and stepped into the bathroom, made a huge mess of blood. This police officer goes and investigates. It's said that she just talks to the manager and is seen sitting down by the counter, but is never seen actually going into the bathroom where the man was said to be. Now, one of the expert testimonies that the prosecution brought in was a doctor that specializes in cult matters. The defense tear him apart. He was a doctor that didn't even go to school. He became a doctor by one of those mail-in orders where you send me money and I'll send you a certificate saying you're a doctor. When they asked him about the reason why the number 3 appeared so much in this case, if it has something to do with cult, with some type of cult following or religious matter, he says he doesn't know why, that he wasn't able to tell if the number 3 had any significance with either cult or religious matters. Jesse, Jason, and Damien were fighting this conviction the whole time they were in jail. It was really hard on them because they were kids when this happened. They were the oldest was 18 and he was charged as an adult. But they were afraid. They had this mentality that if I didn't do anything, they can't hold me responsible. But it's a completely different case that happened with them. People hold them responsible, even though it was clear that nobody was doing their jobs. And it is here that makes this connection from this case to the case of Raskolnikov. It was completely different and somewhat difficult to find a connection. Here, where there's no clear bad guy to say that there's no real criminal here ever found, whereas to Raskolnikov, he was the criminal. There's no proper way of connecting it through a straight line. The only way to find a connection is to look at the philosophical values the book has and to what happened to the Westman 3. In Crime and Punishment, Raskolnikov was the criminal. He was the bad guy, and there's no questioning that. But what the author had to question is what having committed those crimes does to the person. The police in the book were investigating. They were looking at leads, following clues, and the whole 9 yards. When Raskolnikov comes open and admits it, it looks like if the police were just being smartasses with the way they were treating him. Oh, if you were the criminal, then just kill yourself and write a confession. It feels that they weren't doing their job, but if you look at it, they were leading him on. They weren't making this rash judgment and just arresting him as soon as he talked. They tried to get as much information and tangible evidence that would work in court to convict Raskolnikov for his crime. In the Westman 3, however, this doesn't happen. The police, as soon as they find that these 3 kids are possible suspects. They were following the Wiccan religion, and they didn't know what this was. The 90s had this huge, massive scare problem with cult following. It was this mentality that if you weren't with God, you were with the devil. The connection between these two scenarios are completely different, but you can see how the system of punishment has to work. You could find this connection of this working process over this non-working process. It's somewhat difficult to find a physical line between the two cases, but if you look at the philosophical value, we see how sometimes this punishment system doesn't really work. We're using this punishment system just to point a finger, to find somebody to blame, but not the actual person who did this crime. Thank you.